But the FTA talks have resumed and resumed once again under a cloak of secrecy, and not many people are sure why that should be so. Certainly people in Britain, business houses, parliamentarians have questioned that. They say these are not defense talks and people have a right to know what trade agreements are being made. Businesses must know, people must know, consumers must know. But anyway, there are some things we do know, and some things that stand out more than any others are clear without any doubt. And the first among them for the British by way of a demand is Scotch whisky. Britain exported 136 million bottles to India last year. Not enough, says the Scotch Whisky Association. They want higher quotas and reduced tariffs on Scotch whisky, and this is so very important to the British that former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who started the trade talks, spoke about this on at least 4 different occasions, including a visit to a Gurdwara. Certainly this is of prime interest to the British. Without that, there will be no talks. The talks themselves will be on the rocks. And on this, we have very clear indications that India has accepted this demand from Britain for higher quotas and reduced tariffs on Scotch whisky. There are other British demands where they haven't made quite as much headway yet. One of these is that very controversial issue of patents. They want an extension of patents which would reduce India's production of generic drugs. This is huge business in India, but not just business. India's generic drugs are a lifeline to millions around the world. They make life-saving drugs affordable. India is not about to give up on that. There are other British demands for India opening up in automobiles. There again, there is some resistance from Indian negotiators. The question that does raise some concern is what India is looking for this, what India is seeking to get out of it. There is no Indian product that immediately rivals or matches Scotch whisky. There is some indication from officials that India is pushing more and more textiles into Britain, or certainly will seek to, but there is no hunger for Indian textiles in Britain to remotely rival the thirst for Scotch whisky in India. So an Indian brand, an Indian product does not immediately come to mind. What Indian negotiators, official negotiators of course, are looking for is something that would appear to many dubious. They are looking for greater movement of Indian professionals into Britain in exchange for giving Britain all that it wants. There are some concerns that are of particular importance here. One, why India is so keen to push its best and brightest, its proven best and brightest into Britain. Certainly that would be to Britain's advantage, and Britain sees that to be so. Britain is recruiting already across India for highly skilled professionals through its network of deputy high commissioners and other delegates. This Britain needs now. We have a country now in stagflation. Growth is stagnant, inflation is soaring. Britain needs labor and skilled labor. One of the reasons that the Bank of England mentions for this downturn is a shortage of skilled labor. Britain is looking for that already, and India will be a happy hunting ground and is already. So that is on track for Britain. In fact, India is now seeking in the negotiations to give Britain more of what Britain itself wants. That does raise some concern why India is doing this. There has been a limited agreement on exchange of professionals, but that is 18 to 30-year-olds, about 3,000 either way for up to 2 years. Now that is not the movement of professionals that's going to bring a lot to India. It's not going to bring a lot to Britain at that level either. This is more tokenistic. But the Indian demand is one that has raised some questions, and there are some fears now that are being expressed whether India may come off second best in these talks.